The 9th and 10th rounds of the Formula E Championship were special. The inaugural Qualcomm New York City E-Prix took place around the streets of Red Hook, Brooklyn, and in true Formula E style, provided some fascinating and enthralling action. Let's take an in-depth look at how the weekend doubleheader unfolded. New York City was dominated by Sam Bird. With the championship battle slightly on the back burner with Sebastian Buemi's absence, the DS Virgin driver stepped forward to have one of the most impressive weekends in Formula E history. 2 races, 2 wins and 1 pole position. Nico Prost won both doubleheader races in London last year, but Bird's performance was just as impressive.
What a car! What a car!
On Saturday, despite being fastest in the qualifying groups, Bird could only qualify 4th on the grid. He got past Verne off the line, then on lap 9 dispatched his new teammate Alex Lynn. On lap 16, Bird was feeling bold. Despite having 2% less usable energy than race leader Daniel Abt, he sent a lunge down the inside, catching Abt off guard. It was an excellent and decisive move. Things still weren't looking great for DS Virgin despite leading the race. The car had been weak on energy management all season, and though Bird was pulling away from Abt, he was forced to pit 1 lap sooner. Despite a slower pit stop by 0.8 of a second, Bird still emerged comfortably in the lead, and while there was concern he would be reeled in, he drove superbly to manage his energy and take his first victory since Buenos Aires in Season 2.
Well done, Sam. Excellent stuff, mate. Well done.
It was also a day to remember for Techeetah, who secured their best ever Formula E result, with 2nd for Jean-Eric Verne and Stefan Sarrazin finishing 3rd. Bird picked up where he left off on Sunday. Quickest in free practice in the morning, he then sealed his 4th Formula E pole position. It had become clear by this point though that the pole position side got a worse start than the even numbered side of the grid, so Felix Rosenqvist jumped into the lead at turn 1. Rosenqvist clearly hadn't watched a replay of Saturday's race, as Bird pulled exactly the same manoeuvre as the previous day at exactly the same corner to take the lead on lap 11. From then on, it was plain sailing for the DS Virgin driver as he drove away to win by a massive 11.3 seconds.
Yes! Come on!
It was a weekend of a title contender, but too late in the title race. With 58 points available in Montreal, Bird is 57 points behind championship leader Sebastian Buemi. It was an incredibly up and down weekend for the 2 rookies in the field. With DS Virgin's Jose Maria Lopez and Renault's Sebastian Buemi away on duty for Toyota, young British driver Alex Lynn stepped in for Lopez, and reigning GP2 champion Pierre Gasly filled in for the championship leader. One saving grace for both was that it was a brand new circuit for the rest of the grid too. Initially it was Lynn who had the upper hand. The Englishman was quickest in the first free practice session, then took an extraordinary pole position. It was the first debut pole since Jean-Eric Verne qualified first in Punta del Este in the championship's 3rd ever race. In contrast, Gasly qualified slowest of everyone. In the race though, it was a different story. On the dirty part of the track at the start, Lynn got a poor getaway and fell down to 2nd. For a first race, his energy management wasn't too bad, but after sliding down the order to 6th, he eventually had to pit a lap before his teammate Sam Bird. After the pit stops, he was running in a strong 5th place, but the DS Virgin car let him down and he ground to a halt. But it was nevertheless an impactful debut. Sunday's race didn't go quite according to plan either. Lynn qualified down in 15th position and was running well until the car let him down again on lap 19, even before the pit stop window. As for Gasly, he may have had a poor qualifying on Saturday, but his fortunes steadily improved throughout the weekend. After his Renault teammate Nico Prost had a technical problem in the early laps, the 2 were running 18th and 19th, with Prost ahead. Gasly managed his energy impressively and was able to stop a lap later than Prost, meaning he emerged ahead of his fellow Frenchman in 14th place after the pit stops. With more usable energy than those around him, he was able to climb through the order, first passing Antonio Felix da Costa on lap 26. Next up was Adam Carroll's Jaguar on lap 31. Felix Rosenqvist retired on lap 34, the same lap as Pierre Gasly passed Tom Dillman, so that was 2 places gained, while further retirements for Heidfeld and Daniel Abt led Gasly to an excellent 7th place finish, having started in 19th on the grid. Sunday was a different story entirely for Gasly. Quickest in the qualifying groups, then 4th fastest in Superpole, gave him a really strong starting position. It was a decent start, but he got passed by Nick Heidfeldt's trademark round the outside move at turn 1. That dropped him to 5th. But he was soon back up to 4th when Jean-Eric Verne had to pit to repair damage. And that 4th spot is where Gasly would sit for the remainder of the race, until the final corner at least. Heidfeld in 3rd got a poor run towards the last turn, and Gasly tried an audacious overtake around the outside, which ended up in him slamming into the barrier. Though he still finished 4th, It could be seen as a pretty reckless move, considering his only job was to take points away from Lucas de Grassi in Sebastian Buemi's absence. Such a risky move could have easily seen him out of the race and given de Grassi an extra 2 points in the championship fight. Luckily for Renault, that didn't happen, but it was undoubtedly a big risk from the Frenchman. As for Lucas de Grassi, he wanted it to be a big points haul weekend, but it didn't quite work out that way. He still collected 22 points while Buemi missed the races, but he would have been hoping for more. In both races he was out-qualified by his teammate Daniel Abt, meaning it's now 5-all in the 10 qualifying sessions so far between the two of them. Both races were a story of a quiet, solid progress up the order. In race 1 he climbed from 10th to 4th, while in race 2 he went from 9th to 5th. Both solid drives, but it still leaves him 10 points behind Buemi going into the final races of the season in Montreal. Despite being a tight and twisty track, the New York City E-Prix made for some great racing, and while Sam Bird stole the show by winning both races, the 10-point gap at the top of the championship is going to be the big story going into the final event of the season in Montreal, Canada.